Oh. Bene, buongiorno a tutti, benvenuti nella sala dei concerti di Palazzo Chigi Saracini, in occasione del meeting del network dei festival europei F.A.C.E, Festival Alliance for Contemporary Music in Europe. Siamo felici di essere qui con il maestro Salvatore Sciarrino e con gli allievi del corso di composizione tenuto dal maestro Sciarrino presso l'Accademia Chigiana di Siena. Intanto lo traduco rapidamente in inglese, parleremo in inglese, cioè tradurremo in inglese per i nostri ospiti. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the concert hall of Palazzo Chigi Saracini of the Accademia Chigiana. We are here to meet Maestro Salvatore Sciarrino and the students of his class of composition for the composition course at Accademia Chigiana. In the context of the meeting of the Festival Alliance for Contemporary Music in Europe Network, F.A.C.E. I would like briefly to present our guests. We have from Ensemble Quillo in Germany, Ursula Weiler, Carsten Schlottke. From Berlin, Festival Impulse, Julian Ricken, artistic director, together with Hans Rothmann, that were connected with us online a few minutes ago for the general meeting. Then we have Bruno Letorte, artistic director of Festival Arts Musicale Bruxelles. Then we have Sophie Lacaze, artistic director of Festival Musique Démesurée from Clermont-Ferrand. And we have as guest with us Matthias Loschek, who is artistic director of the Theater Bozen, of the theater in Bozen in Sud Tirol, Italian. And Federico Fusi, who is coming from Siena, inner room organization and responsible for the programming of Chigiana Radio Arte, our web radio, who is broadcasting daily 24 hours for the contemporary music and sound art and Chigiana festival events. So this is our guests today, but online there were also the artistic director of Estonian Composers Union from the festival of the Baltic Republic, the Baltic Republic Music Days. So we are happy to welcome you all here in the main concert hall. Good morning, Matteo Cesari, who is joining us. We have also at this meeting the performer, the artists that are in residence at Chigiana Academy for the composition course. Quartetto Prometeo, who is here. Say hello, warm welcome to Quartetto Prometeo, and to Paolo Ravaglia, clarinet, and to Matteo Cesari that just joined us. So, as a first question, I would like to ask Professor Salvatore Sciarrino to introduce the course of composition at Accademia Chigiana. Se puoi introdurre in due parole il corso di composizione. Tu hai il microfono. Grazie.
Yes, thank you. It's a pity that we were speaking at the end of general rehearsal, and I told two words that were perhaps important. So I was always an ecologic mind, also when I was very, very, very young. And well, I was considered heretical in my age because I was just in the middle of avant-garde person, so Cage, Stockhausen, etc. But what I was thinking was concerning the perception and not the combination or the combinatory techniques that come from the late post-Webernism. That was totally crazy for my for the generation before mine, and well, but it was not so difficult in that age to develop for me a properly a personal language, because I must introduce what was the last words that I told to these young people. I said, please don't be sorry that your piece come to this general rehearsal, but not is included in the concert. We must have a very a good concert. It means not too long, but right long. And so there was a selection of 7 pieces on 13. Well, this year they were 42 young people asking to be in this composition course, but you know that I think strongly that more than 10 people for 2 weeks is to say something that is forse stupido.
Maybe stupid.
Because we cannot measure the time of contact that we have. First thing we must know as good friends. I don't think that a teacher must impose his technique. I can, but I never want, because I must learn to teach. And so if there is not a change in of ideas, of contrast, we spoke about the contrast that is always in between the generation. It's not possible that a song continues without any contrast, the line of the generation that was before. And that, so when I come at side of young people, young people that want to be composer or knows that can be composer, well, I sit at side, and the first request is to be patient. It means that I don't must provoke a reaction, because it could be very easy to make a quick correction, to change something, but I must not change. I must suggest to change, and then I can have an answer, and then perhaps will come a third or fourth answer that is the right idea. That is, in 2 words, this kind of not psychanalysis, but molto faticoso. It's very tiring to be very to attend to these meetings, and I try always all my life to have all the person together, because and this year you are a fantastic group, very connected, also with different division between other more smaller groups, but it's very interesting that we were, for example, quite always eating together or be in touch out of the school. That is very important for me to be at this position of the students, because we know that the composer that come to come si può dire, notorietà,
Fame, to the
the
fame.
fame of teaching, they impose a precise technique that is something that I very sincerely don't like, because I think that this kind of mental attitude destroys the original creativity of the young composer. They must not be stamped, non possono essere fatti con lo stampino.
They can be produced by stamp.
I have the most big reaction. I am very passionate. All my life was fighting against that. So it's all. Perhaps there will be some questions. What come to public from this experience, from the young composer group, comes so very different languages. If perhaps someone has some sound that come from my composition, they don't come through me, but I must. Io devo sopportare. Yes.
I have to stand for
Thank
that.
you very much.
Grazie Stefano, vuoi dire qualcosa,
No.
magari anche poi invitando...
Yes, so Salvatore Sciarrino was talking about formal education that is quite different from a consumer-oriented education, like the one we are used now to face in every important institution. And so, but anyway, this is a traditional way to teach, just to, it's like, to
Give us
stimulate.
stimulation.
To stimulate.
And the last thing that I was saying, but I didn't say, is that our world of contemporary music is so small that if one want to be famous, must do other kind of music. But we have the possibility to fly in a moment, because our creativity can develop with passion, and we can fly. So they were the last words. They come to in a moment that the sky are not so empty. But we, in our small world of contemporary music, each one can fly, can find his personal space to fly. That's all.
I would like also to underline that your course is not only a theoretical course, but it's very practical, because we have also the instrumental players.
Laboratorio,
It's a workshop.
A
Exactly.
workshop,
It's a
yes,
workshop.
exactly.
So you have been listening to the voice of Maestro Sciarrino. Thanks also to Antonio Artese and Antonio Artese and Mattia Cella, Chigiana Digital. They are making this meeting available also online. And so you were talking about a shift between the conception of music based on the structure, based on the conception of the structure, and a shift from this concept to a concept more oriented to the listening. And so, are you? Because they give us some stimuli about this, and we want to listen their voice about their relation with the listening, relation with the audience, and with other musics, because we we were talking about different perspective, different orientation between the young composers and their relation with other soundscape, other sound universe.
I think that the best of hearing the music is to be to discover a world, a new world, but a new world that is potentially in our soul. That is important. If I have understood your It's not a question.
No, it was a
format.
remark. It was a remark about what you said before. That you were a forerunner in this shift of conception from the idea of structuring without the attention to the listening, and then so abstract conception of music and the way they conceive music. So, I invite you to say something here for our
Please.
friends about your experience here in Siena, in Accademia Chigiana, and what is your relation with the music of Salvatore Sciarrino, and if you can find a difference between your orientation and the orientation of the last generation.
This year I don't let hear pieces of mine, also because there was so many things to hear in the concert, and so perhaps not what I can I can introduce more important specifically for some instrumental or formal problems. But I don't need to give there is so many things on internet badly performed that you can hear, that I must not add any other.
So we invite
Please.
some of you to join us and describe your experience here at Chigiana.
So
I'm
once.
They also, you can also talk in Italian, and we are going to translate.
Yes, there's also there's
c'è un microfono lì,
yes.
guarda.
It's because we don't have to exchange the microphones because of the COVID, so you can take off your mask.
Oh, this is appropriate to not wear the mask right now.
Your name?
My name is Ruben Jellyman, and I come from New Zealand actually, and I live in Paris. But it's really been a tremendous honor to meet with one of my favorite composers, and to become friends with Maestro Sciarrino. But I think to respond to this question, because I'm at the Conservatoire de Paris, and it's a place of grand tradition, and we're all trying to find our way forward. And I think this way of teaching is very important, and I've found that here at Chigiana, a space for being free to search for a personal language, and maybe to respond to the practicalities of the course in this respect. It's maybe difficult when you have just one week to try and find something to. In fact, I would say it's quite difficult without our hands-on instruments as well, because to find a musical language requires research and reflection
and the right moment
Absolutely.
that sometimes does not come when we want. Le muse, anche se le preghi, non vengono a comando. Quindi, that is a problem for everybody. We have just a week to prepare something, and very few days to refine and give to be performed to the. How old are you? I can
27.
26.
Yeah. So I would say the success is in fact not guaranteed. We come and we try, and for me, I brought maybe with me a few ideas, some language from the previous piece, but a desire to try and create a new kind of music. And I think it's really hard to find a way forward. In concrete terms, I would say a way forward with just the instruments we have, and for me, it's a big challenge to really, both in terms of musical grammar, but also in terms of sound, find a personal music in the way forward. But these kinds of experiences are truly nourishing and wonderful, and I've had a wonderful time. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Io è quello che ha sperimentato di più. Sì,
And now,
piccole
now
cose, ma-
I think it would be nice to listen from the voice of the people who are appointed here to transform their project into sounds and performance. And so, somebody of Quartetto Prometeo, Mattia or Paolo, they want to say something about the way you have. Anyway, a confrontation with them. It's just a confrontation, it's not a conversation, it's confrontation. Because sometimes you are compelled to teach them something, the way to write, the way to create.
Matteo Cesari.
So yes, it's pretty much how we said earlier, meaning that we, as an interpreter, I try to do the same thing, meaning I need to try to understand what they would like to do, and I need to stop myself from imposing what I've seen before in the repertoire. Otherwise, basically, you can kill the creativity at this moment of, when you start to germination, I don't know, when you start to grow. So it's very complicated also because we need to jump from one language to the another very quickly. So I find it every time very challenging, and it's really enriching for an interpreter, because you need also always to take a step back, forget a little bit about what you have done in the past, and learn every time. So sometimes you get very stressed, sometimes it's very peaceful, sometimes there's some kind of fighting. I think it's nice to do this type of work with them, so they keep us human, as we need to just re-evaluate our position every time. So as I said, it can be very tiring, but it can be extremely enriching too.
Thank you, Mattia. Thank you.
Grazie.
So you've seen that, just to show to our friends who came here for the meeting of F.A.C.E, that Salvatore Sciarrino's masterclass is a multi-level workshop. We have the old teacher, like who becomes friend with the students and try to understand their world, their perspective, their perception of music, their ideas, and maybe their ambitions, and some so precious tutor. Because they follow the creation during these days and then the last part of the workshop, and they take the music to the last performance. So it is a multi-level, and the students also have the opportunity to attend to other classes, other master classes, other lessons. Do you think it is important for you, this opportunity, this experience? Because when you're here, you can also go to listen to conduction or choir or guitar and whatever. So.
Yes.
Your name?
My name is Peter Joyce. I'm from Ireland, and I study in Vienna composition. I think one of the most important things about a festival or a Meisterkurs like this is also the ability to get out of our own heads a little bit. Because obviously now with the last year and a half with coronavirus, we've been so in our own minds and in our own spaces and in our own private lives that to finally come and meet people from all over the world and new teachers, to remind ourselves that there are other types of language and other possibilities and other styles. And not only that, as you said, here in Chigiana, to be able to go see other concerts, other styles of music, even at the same time having the jazz festival is also a nice contrast musically for us sometimes. And I think that variety is something that composers, I certainly as a composer, look for in order to keep my own musical language and life open and progressive.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's very important also for us to have a confrontation like this, because it helps us to develop also new possibilities, new opportunities for all students. I think a festival now is something really huge, because it gives more and more the possibility to, for all the students of the Academy, and most of all for the composition students, the opportunity to listen to many different musical approaches, either from the past or today's music, but also in the way we are moving to the involving the people here working at the Academy, either as professor or as musicians, which are part of the Academy in residence ensembles and soloists, to be part of the festival and to express themselves in many different ways. I make an example: David Krakauer playing the trio by Zemlinsky and then plays his own composition Rothko on Broadway, but it's just an example. There are more also more radical approaches and so on. I think we have to improve more and more the communication between the Academy and the festival. That's why we did an Academy festival, because it's not something outside, it's something coming from the Academy, and I'm happy if in the future the course of composition could be also more involved in some ways. Of course, there is the concert of tonight's concert is included in the festival, and in this year is also included in the meeting of F.A.C.E network, but this is just one possibility. I think maybe there could be more, and I'm interested to know from you also about that, about the connection between Academy and festival. If anybody of you would like to give his opinion, I would be happy. You, please.
So my first thought was...
Your name?
Johannes Brömmel. I'm from Germany and studying in Salzburg.
We have to.
So for these 2 weeks, at least for me, at some points it was very stressful. So it's not so possible to attend every concert. And I think it's amazing though that you have this combination. So I'm glad it exists. My other thought was, speaking about perception and the listener, it would be interesting to have some kind of talk with people that are not musical professionals about what they perceive in the music. It would be maybe another kind of conversation. Yes.
To have more moment, to add moment of conversations. Yeah, yeah. But I have to tell you one thing. It's important. This and maybe Stefano can tell more precisely. Close to the COVID, we had a special section of the festival called Chigiana Lounge that were exactly given to this, but we had to take off because of COVID restrictions. Maybe Stefano can answer more precisely.
Yes, but I understand perfectly what you mean. And yes, Chigiana Lounge was a section of the festival dedicated to conversation with the audience, and especially it was a way to talk about music with the musicians, with the artists, but in a perspective that could be understandable from each other, from the people who are coming to the concert and musicians, and try to exchange the experience of making music. And this was the goal of Chigiana Lounge. Anyway, I think that could be very important. In the theatre and performing arts, is quite spread this use to create project about the audience. And sometimes it's not some, I can say, populist idea to let the people choose what do we have to play or something else. But it is interesting to understand how people think about music, and for me, in my opinion, all the festivals, the festival is different from a series of concerts, because it's a cultural project. And a cultural project, I think the more important cultural project is try to make the people understand that music is a job, and it is something that involves you every day in thinking and creating something that regards everybody.
Thank you. Antonio Artese would like to say something. I'm really pleased.
Oh, that's so tall. Yes, so my question to Maestro Sciarrino, but also to you guys, as a kind of insider of the Accademia Chigiana, is this. This is a community. Today we are here on this room. You know, we worked with a great composer. You had a chance to see your works performed. You spent time in Siena, got to know a little bit the Accademia Chigiana inside out. If you haven't, I mean, please make sure that you know also some of the historical details of this institution. But my question is, now that we are actually coming out, hopefully for good, out of this kind of a pandemic emergency, my question is, how do we keep this Arcadia? So how do we keep this community, this symposium that every time Maestro Sciarrino comes here, he is able to recreate? And I see all these heads around the table. So this is to me, is the iconic word of someone, you know, illustrating, coming together without mask, with no masks. We're not talking about that, but you know, to have a kind of a moment where you actually share something. And then my question is how we can continue this with the help of a digital means that we have. So to keep alive this community come September 5th. So September 5th is the time where the festival is going to be over. Chigiana will renew the projects, it will go on. But more and more, looking at history in the past, look at the great people that actually have been performing at the stage in the Chigiana. My question and my concern is what we concretely can do to preserve this community of ideas, of a talent and inspiration, also after the festival is over. It's an open question. So now you need to answer, obviously.
Oh, well. Thank you, Antonio. I think this is a very nice statement, and I think it's important to preserve this spirit, this atmosphere, this peculiar moment, which is given by the course by Salvatore Sciarrino here, joining all the students, but not only the students, musicians, and at the end joining energies around the composition course and around composition's problems in general. I have in mind what Steve Reich, to whom is dedicated the focus of contemporary music of this year, when he said, in itself, every piece is a process. So to keep this atmosphere alive, also thanks to the using the digital medium, is really important. Maybe this moment can continue. What do you think, Maestro Sciarrino? It could be possible to keep
of course,
the group alive?
Io sono un po' fuori da tutto, because I like to be modern, but to be modern is not to be in the mood. And so there are some kind of use of the modern technology that is not modern. So, for example, the internet could be fantastic way of knowledge, potrebbe essere una grande forza di collegamento, but we must wait to be able to wait that in few generations we can reach another more conscious and more useful use, sorry, but of the technology. Because the problem in that moment, that is my last year experience, last 30 years experience. Once it was possible to divide with Wolfgang Grimm and other composer, the world of young composer into the people that were writing with computer, the people that were not right, not yet. But in the last years, quite all the composers write on computer, and we can distinguish, for example, some common explication, for example, for how to prepare the piano. We can recognize di Brunner in tedesco, le fonti dove sono prese.
Sources.
And the sources of, well, in that moment specifically, it's a little dangerous because there is a moment of
standardization.
Yes, because for a young composer that is born in this generation, computer is not ambivalent. Is something of every day, of every moment, and so to use and to be critic is not too easy. It's not easy that. And sometimes the experience of the instrument is gone because we think that the virtual experience può sostituire l'esperienza reale. That is not so, but we must be able to wait and to use. So, for example, very sincerely, I have not computer, but I use computer. Every telephone, and well, I can receive the mail, but it's not that the problem. The problem is how to preserve the time of concentration, to be concentrated. That is, for me, the problem. The only problem is that computer takes all my time, and I want to preserve my time. I think that with the growing of age and the passage of generation, it will happen. Io mi auguro che questo possa succedere, perché altrimenti siamo tutti, anche io alla fine sono livellato da tutto questo. It's very difficult.
Finally, I will be. Finally, will be flattened by these practices. It could be a good topic for the next meeting: music and consumption of time.
This is a good. Anyway, I think Antonio, we are absolutely available to also open a space digitally in our platform, Chigiana Digital. It could be also there maybe a space to continue this experience and to continue the contact among you students of this year, but also of the last years, to try to create also a community of composers that studied it at Chigiana with Salvatore Sciarrino, in order to keep also some questions alive and also some important points that you are facing and important not only on compositional aspects, but also question about the role of new music, of contemporary music in the actual society. It could be a very stimulating open space, which starting from the course of composition at Chigiana with Salvatore Sciarrino can keep and can stay and be also developed in the future. No, I think this could be a very interesting opportunity.
Forse devi cambiare Sciarrino e prendere un altro Sciarrino.
No, I will never change Sciarrino. Sciarrino is forever.
No.
Okay, so
It's like diamonds.
like that.
I want to change myself.
So it's now 1 o'clock. I think we can close our session. I thank you really very much, Maestro. It's 1 o'clock exactly. We are very precise. I thank you, Maestro Sciarrino, and I thank all of you that came to this meeting. I thank Quartetto Prometeo, Matteo Cesari, Paolo Ravaglia, and all the participants at the F.A.C.E meeting. So for the meeting participants, the appointment is at 4 o'clock in Aula Frescobaldi.
Pergolesi.
Yeah, scusa, Pergolesi. Aula Pergolesi is next year, but we can meet at the entrance of the Accademia and go together for the performance of Tabula Rasa Ensemble. Then at 5 o'clock we will have the performance of Chigiana Percussion Ensemble, and then at 6 o'clock the guided tour of the Chigiana Academy and the collection Chigi Saracini. At 9:15, after the dinner, where you want in the city, we'll start the concert of composition course here in this concert hall. So, thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a good lunch.
Grazie.